bad game idea. So it's an
I guess this is content now. Well, nothing like a round of mimicry, and I have just the concept I've been obsessing over. I want pagan Minecraft. Except saying Minecraft is misleading. This is Minecraft. Telling you more would be a waste of time. This is Hytale, a game that was canceled, but it was highly anticipated for its potential improvements and modifications of the Minecraft formula. This is Vintage Story, an actually published game, unlike the previous, that improves every failure in survival Minecraft. The highlight of these changes are the structures. If I build a home with a fire pit, the walls will hold in the heat from the fire pit during winter. If I want large amounts of clays, I build this beehive kiln. If I want wheat to become flour for bread, I build a windmill. And if I want that bread to not expire, I build a cellar. These structures are for the most part customizable, and it combines with a much higher difficulty that makes it to where I need to actively build out more than a bed with craft stations placed in a row if I hope to finish the game. These, and a mix of overhaul mods, which are distinct games by any reasonable judgment, ripoffs, and honest inspiration, is the voxel sandbox genre, which pulls me to the pitch. There is no god, probably, in Minecraft, and I guarantee there is no god in Vintage Story. But what if there were? Anyone and everyone in any and every age of human advancement built temples and praised gods, and often this was associated very directly with success. And while a normal person might reference Roman or Egyptian gods, I'd rather reference the Mayans, who scheduled their human sacrifices in the winter near the solstice. That way, right after the murders, spring happened, the world warmed, and the rain returned to provide a bountiful harvest. Something clearly both correlated and caused by those sacrifices. Voxel sandbox games, with their light fantasy, endless building, and survival mechanics, are grounded in everything needed to take heavy inspiration from that piece of human history, but none of them have. Case in point, earlier this year, the Hazara community server in Vintage Story launched. I joined that server as just another player. In the first days, admins gave my group pie as an early survival gift. The flying immortal man handing us a way to not starve to death was so impactful that my group constructed a pie maker's cult, complete with a temple, some rules about not eating pie without permission, and a special cellar designated for the pie as opposed to the other unclean filth cellar that include things like fruits and vegetables. But this was just roleplay, and recently I was thinking back on it. For a moment, I asked myself, what could happen with the introduction of a full pantheon as gameplay into one of these games? And my mind exploded. I am going for a 6-god pantheon. We can have a reputation system between individual gods. Your reputation influences different parts of the world. This quickly opens the door to sacrifices which curry favor. No culture in human history disagrees. Let's start simple. Here is an altar to a plant god. Killing an animal on it provides the surrounding land with a fertilization boost. If we have weather like Vintage Story, your sacrifices could decide the sky's mood directly instead of those silly old seasons. If we make a good leader and an evil leader in the pantheon, we could also associate weather with player behavior. Cannibalism, for instance, brings winter closer because you pissed off the god of warmth and comfort. Being on good terms with a god could also give us an opportunity for blessed equipment.
The holy hand grenade of Antioch.
I think rosary and rings would work best. They give a god-themed buff, and we can have them scale with your reputation with that god. That way you actively need to maintain your relationship in order to not have your stuff screw you over. For example, evil cannibalism god's necklace could come with a buff to cold resistance, so I can be as cold on the outside as I am on the inside. Or warm crop gods could increase your damage, while annoying the evil god could give the monsters more health. Basically, if you piss off a few gods, the others can keep you safe, but if you piss off everyone, you should be doomed. To further this end, getting a good reputation should be made easier with temples, because befriending a god requires a mix of gifts and repentance, and no gift is greater than a really cool building. Temples worry me a bit because I don't want you to place 1 million napkins to reach a perfect level.
Okay, what's the cheapest thing I can do that puts up style? Oh, so yeah, it does work. If you buy the same object, I can just keep buying this thing, and it adds 1 point of prestige. Excellent. So we're going to throw down the table, and I think you can see where this is going. This is where we keep the napkin holders. People love this. It allows us to charge extra.
And it would be rather counter sandbox to lock in a pre-made design to have it replicate exactly. My loose solution is judging by structure height. Because we are reaching for the heavens, then multiply that height by the surrounding treasure, which can be judged based on the ceiling size. We can assign the two values diminishing returns. My 20th block from the ground is worth less than block 10, and they both have a cap. That doesn't guarantee beautiful temples, but the ceiling means you at least want a room of sorts, while not forcing perfect walls that stifle creativity. I can't compel a good temple because at the end of the day, people will only build things they want to build, but this should be a good setup for a mechanical base. The benefit can then be multiplication to the reputation boost of an offering. Different gods will prefer you sacrifice different things. For instance, Winter Boy will be very on board with human sacrifices, but you can can cause some problems sacrificing your fellow man to non-evil gods. For this possibility, we are in need of a villager equivalent, which is worth building off of. Perhaps we could give villages a patron deity that causes them to either immediately attack or give you gifts based on your reputation with that deity. If we have a big good guy, we could also include a chance of charitable bread when your hunger is low, or for an evil guy, once a day we run the odds of a human sacrifice within the community. Could even make rescuing a human sacrifice give you a temporary wolf-style ally until you get to a non-evil village where they can resettle. Neutral villages would open the doors for introducing a god of your choice out of the pantheon. Perhaps you even spawn in a neutral village and you are tasked with getting an altar and building them a temple as a tutorial. Choosing our spawn brings me back to land design. I have a few non-conformist ideas. Yes, it's just a hex, but let me explain. 6 sides, 6 gods, 6 potential temple projects. We can have each god counter the opposite hex side, so north against south for our good versus evil, northwest against southeast could be farming against hunting, with overindulgence in farming increasing the danger beast pose and overindulging in hunting decreasing rain, and northeast and southwest could be mining and crafting against stripping ruins and stealing resources from villagers. The map of the world can then reflect these attitudes with a not procedurally generated finite amount of land. Yes, I am suggesting a design land. I know it's a bold take, but if we are pitching procedurally generated land, we are losing by a mile. Procedural exploration has not just been done, but done better than anything we can make. But with a pre-made land, we can execute on something that Minecraft acknowledges, but does not explore nearly well enough. Puzzles and hints. Look at this wool. In the ancient city, it is everywhere. And in the ancient city, redstone samples that show you how redstone works are laid out. Unfortunately, if you play Wikiless and you're uninformed, you will likely not encounter the deep dark, meaning you won't just not get the only in-game hint about how redstone works, you will miss out on the organic discovery of sound is bad and wool is the solution, which is shown to you exclusively through environmental hints. I love these bits in the game, but they are hidden. I also love ruined portals, because before ruined portals, you could not organically conclude that I should arrange obsidian and light it with fire. It's just not something you would come up with. Numerous mechanics have no equivalent in Minecraft. This is the heart of the sea. If you do this structure, it lets you breathe underwater. How on earth was anyone supposed to discover this feature? I need piles and piles of equivalents to the bits I like if I want to be gradually revealing what fickle gods do and don't like, along with who knows what other gameplay mechanics. But for those structures, I cannot risk RNG getting in the way. I can go through a full playthrough of Minecraft never finding numerous interesting structures within it. Let me contrast this with Skyrim. The map of Skyrim is dense as steel. I can walk in a random direction from anywhere on the map and find something interesting in less than a minute. That is not a random number. That is the explicit design. You cannot play Skyrim without being within a minute of an interesting encounter. I want this density to be combined with the ability to modify the voxel world. And that can only happen if we kill the procedural generation. This decision also repairs the trap problem. Good traps cannot look the same as another trap you found in the same setting. This would mark us another significant improvement on Minecraft structures. And loot. We can flex the play loot. The prizes can become a mix of contextual world building like the wool and lore books that teach us secrets about the gods, with the most dangerous dungeons holding unique items from the world history. The prizes can then allow us to appease the gods more effectively, and as another mechanic, earn more land. Earning land expansion will be a matter of giving a specific offering per side of the hex to the correct god. Then, from the void, we are gifted with a new similarly dense hex with more places to explore, and 5 more places we can expand again. This is my ideal if this were a published game map. 2 tiers in any direction with something really cool on the farthest tier. It also means I don't have to commit to human sacrifice god to get to his tier if I bounce between his underling. The expansion acts as a core adventure, with our secondary adventure being building the cool temples, and our last task is survival, which needs to be difficult if we want the gods to matter. Hardcore Minecraft took me 3 tries. It's not difficult enough game for survival mechanics to feel worth engaging in. Vintage Story has you scrapping for food through food preservation and rot mechanics, and since holy influence on farming is already well established in historical religion and this video, I need to steal starvation risk as a core mechanic from them. But I can't hard copy Vintage Story either. There are reasons I am not pitching this as a mod. It takes 2 hours in Vintage Story to get a pickaxe. While this mechanic serves high difficulty survival pretty well, it does not serve pagan ritual craft at all, which leaves me with 2 more difficulty sliders to tamper tamper with. Failure to appease the gods should result in curses that could be barren crops, lower equipment durability, more monsters, winter, fire, your livestock has smaller litters, etc. Our other difficulty slider is monsters. I have to be careful with more health plus more damage because that does not make a good fight. I think demonology should have large room for monster variation and contrast well with praise to the patrons as a primary objective. These demons would also be able to change as you play based on who hates your guts. When the demons look like crusaders with a righteous cause, you will know you have screwed up. I invite you to subscribe. I doubt I will be able to make this particularly pagan voxel survival game where you build temples and fight demons a reality, but Unreal does have $60 voxel mechanics, which is 80% of what I need. As a final mechanical note before I close out, I have a mod on Vintage Story that lets me climb with Zelda-esque stamina bar if a block is designated as climbable, and I just like that.